Hi, welcome to another edition of the Alan Rosenberg Show. So it's going to be another episode of what I call Time Capsule. Now, I started my channel 2 years ago, and I came up with the idea with Time Capsule that I would show my favorite albums that came out 50 years ago and 40 years ago. So at that time, it was 1971 and then 1981. And then I did 1972 and 1982, and this year might be my third year of the Alan Rosenberg Show. I did 1973 and 1983. And then a couple of viewers said, well, why are you only doing 50 years and 40 years? Do every 10 years. So, and then actually within like 10 years or 7 years, I'll do every single year from 1971, which is really cool because you'll get to see a big chunk of my record collection and you'll get to know my favorite albums of that year. So great suggestion from those viewers, and I'm going to do it. So in addition to 71, 81, 72, 82, 90, 73, and 83, let's continue. Time Capsule, I'm going to do my favorite albums now of 1993. Can't believe, so what is that? That's 30 years ago. God, time goes really fast. Anyway, according to my database, which is right, I have 124 albums that came out in 1993. Out of those 124, I've chosen 44 of the most important to me. And out of these 44, which I'm going to show you in alphabetical order, I'm going to pick out at the end my top 10. See how it compares to you, brings back memories from 1993. And let me know ones that you love that I either didn't show because I have them downstairs and I didn't pick them in the top 44, or maybe I don't have them. Because I got a lot of albums, 5,000, but I don't have everything. Anyway, that's the scoop. If you're new to my channel, please hit subscribe. I know it's annoying to hear that, but it'll help my channel to grow. More people discover it. We'll have a better community, and hopefully everybody wins. All right, alphabetical order. 10,000 Maniacs. I know it starts with a number. 10,000 Maniacs released MTV Unplugged. I did another video, which you can see under my playlist of best, favorite albums. And I did one of favorite Unplugged albums. This is definitely one of the greatest Unplugged albums of all time. This is just a great synopsis of 10,000 Maniacs at that time. It's almost like a greatest hits. They also do a great cover of Because the Night. This is a great, probably the best, in my opinion, 10,000 Maniacs album. Aerosmith. I never think of myself as a big Aerosmith fan, yet I have every single one of their albums. I definitely prefer their earlier stuff, probably like most big Aerosmith fans. But there's no doubt the monstrous success of Get a Grip. Yeah, they brought in professional songwriters. They did a lot more commercial stuff. But this is a really powerful record for sure. Eat the Rich and Living on the Edge and the ballads Crying and Crazy and Amazing. Yeah, it's a really, really good record from Aerosmith for sure. I'm trying not to ever do compilation albums because it's a cheat, but this one stands out for sure for me. This is Blondie and an album called Blonde and Beyond. And just like the hype sticker there, Rarities, Oddities, and Platinum Blondies, unreleased material, this is my kind of compilation album. I just think it's really cool. Any album that's got English Boys, which is this amazing track from The Hunter, it's the second song listed there, is right up my alley for sure. But it's got some unreleased live stuff. It's got Shayla, one of my favorite Blondie songs, Ex Offender, Picture This, original versions of, it's got Once I Had a Love, the original version, Heart of Glass. This is a really, really cool Blondie compilation. Spanish version of Call Me. Blondie. If you like Blondie and you're in a used record store, check out Blonde and Beyond if you can find it. It's a great one. Blur, their album Modern Life is Rubbish. Another really good record from Blur. I like that one. David Bowie, he released Black Tie, White Noise. Interesting, more experimental Bowie record, but certainly really strong record like they all are. And Jump, they say, was the hit from this album. But it was not a huge Bowie album, at least in America. But I like it. Garth Brooks, yeah, might surprise you, but I like Garth Brooks. And he released In Pieces. This is not one of my favorite Garth Brooks albums, but I like it a lot. Some more commercial after he went a little bit more experimental before this. But, you know, Ain't Going Down Till the Sun Comes Up, you know, typical Garth Brooks, good release for sure. Kate Bush. I was a big fan of Kate Bush for a long time. Now she's kind of in vogue, although in America I'm sure she'll fade away again. The Red Shoes, and this was a more commercial sounding album. Rubber Band Girl was the quote-unquote hit single at the time. It's a good record. Phil Collins released Both Sides. This is the newer deluxe edition with the 2 discs. This was not one of my favorite Phil Collins albums. I actually saw this tour. You know, Both Sides of the Story was the hit at the time. This one's a little bit more less accessible than the previous Phil Collins album. So I give him credit for being a little bit less accessible, but just okay. Coverdale Page, of course, David Coverdale, Jimmy Page, super group in the making. They only did the one album, Shake My Tree, right there. It's a good record. It's not a great record. Personally, I was expecting a lot more from these guys. You know, Jimmy Page just never could get it together, really, for whatever reason, in my opinion, after Led Zeppelin, when you compare it to, like, Robert Plant especially. Sheryl Crow, Tuesday Night Music Club. I was right on the button with Sheryl Crow. I saw the ads. I picked up this album immediately, and I fell in love with it. And then later on, it became a really big hit when All I Want to Do became a big smash. But I grabbed onto her when she really first came out before it broke. And this is the deluxe edition of this great record, 3-disc set. But I love this record. Run, Baby, Run. Leaving Las Vegas, Strong Enough. Can't Cry Anymore. No One Said It Would Be Easy. I Shall Believe. All I Want to Do is probably my least favorite song on the album. Crowded House released another really good record, Together Alone. Oh my God. In My Command. Nails in My Feet. Fingers of Love. Pineapple Head. Locked Out. Private Universe. They're such a good band. Really strong record. I'm not really choosing many live albums from around this time, but Dire Straits released On the Night. I saw this tour, of course, and this was the bigger band version of Dire Straits. Really terrific. I'm just a huge fan, and great live versions of Your Latest Trick, the title track of the previous record, On Every Street, You and Your Friend, Brothers in Arms, Romeo and Juliet. So good. So good. Guns N' Roses released their covers record, The Spaghetti Incident. In fact, I just finished reading Slash's autobiography. You know, what can you say? It's a covers record, but there's a lot of really cool tracks on here. And just such a monstrously powerful band. What can you say? They are the real deal. And one day I'll do a video on my thoughts on Guns N' Roses. But the Led Zeppelin of the latter day, for sure. Deborah Harry released Deprivation. Not one of my favorite Deborah Harry solo records. I think this is one of her weaker ones, but even so, it's got some really good tracks on there. But you know, it's a good one. Deprivation. Heart, big fan of Heart, but was not a huge fan of this album. Desire Walks On. It was not a big hit for the band, and probably because just not any really great singles from this album. But there's a couple of really good tracks. And what's the one on here? Where the hell? What song is that? The Woman in Me. I think that's an incredible song. You probably never heard that. Check out The Woman in Me. Desire Walks On is a good title track as well. Heart. Mick Jagger released his third solo record. I think it's his best one. I think it's a masterpiece. It's a little bit dated, but Wandering Spirit is an amazing record. A lot of Stones fans give Mick a lot of grief for his solo records because it really doesn't sound like the Stones. That's the whole point, folks. It's not supposed to sound like the Stones. The single was Sweet Thing, which I think is the weakest track on the album. Check out Don't Tear Me Up. Evening Gown is one of the greatest songs of all time. You heard that right. Evening Gown, one of the greatest songs of all time. Angel in My Heart's really cool. This is just, I love this album. Wandering Spirit. I love this two CD collection from Jethro Tull. It's called Nightcap, and this is its own standalone release because what a collection this is. The first disc is the Chateau Disaster tapes, which was the outtakes from the original recordings of Passion Play that didn't work out. I love it. I, in fact, love it as much as Passion Play, if not more. And then the second disc was called Unreleased and Rare Tracks. And in my opinion, this is one of the greatest Jethro Tull albums of all time. And these are all tracks that Ian Anderson didn't put on the actual albums that he was working on. It's an incredible album. I'm telling you, this is one of the best Jethro Tull albums you've ever heard. Nightcap, the second disc, unreleased tracks. You know you're great when the tracks are this good and they didn't even make the cut of the album. Billy Joel released River of Dreams. Not one of my favorite Billy Joel albums, but another huge hit for him. The Kinks released their final studio record called Phobia. It's got the, right there, the hype sticker, Scattered, Drift Away, Hatred, all of those are great songs. Problem with this album, and it's a problem with some of the CD era albums, it's just too long. There's 16 songs on there. If you cut out 5 or 6 and made it 10 tracks, it would be an incredible record. But it's just a little bit too long. But the best songs on it are great. Nils Lofgren did a soundtrack, the original motion picture soundtrack to Every Breath. I actually got him to sign it. I met him once at a concert, believe Nils Lofgren. He does it with Bonnie Sheridan and Tom Lepson, and I thought this album was going to be nothing with nothing, but I was wrong. It's a really, really good Nils Lofgren album. So, Every Breath. Amy Mann did Whatever, and I thought this was a terrific record, and she only got better and better, in my opinion. I'm a big Amy Mann fan, and this was the first one I should have known was the quote-unquote hit, but this is a really strong record. All of her albums are really good. She is the real deal, and I'm a big fan of Amy Mann. Paul McCartney released Off the Ground. I actually saw this concert, and it's a good record. I like it. Not great, but it was a pretty big hit. A couple of great songs on there. I actually thought the single Hope of Deliverance was just awesome. Peace in the Neighborhood is really good. Get Out of My Way. Come on, People. It's a fine record from McCartney. Sarah McLachlan, she had a huge hit at the time with this record, Fumbling Towards Ecstasy. She became a huge star, and this was pretty much her at her peak. A really, really strong album from Sarah McLachlan. John Mellencamp released Human Wheels, another really strong Mellencamp record. Love the title track, Human Wheels, When Jesus Left, Birmingham's great. To the River, the final track, What If I Came Knocking? Really good record. Gary Moore, a live record called Blues Alive. Gary Moore. Too bad, he passed away. But this is a great live album. When he reinvented himself with the blues. And, man, that guy could play. And this is just a great collection of blues live stuff. Plus, it's got, like, Parisian Walkways. Great live record from Gary Moore. Willie Nelson, he released Across the Borderline. Produced by Don Was, with some help. Songs written by those fellas down there. What could you say? It's a really, really good record from Willie Nelson. He's just such a cool dude, and he's really good. One of my favorite albums of the year, which you'll see, is Carla Olsen. And with a little help from Mick Taylor, this was her album called Within an Ace. This album, I think, is like a masterpiece. I love it. Carla, I don't know if you ever watch my channel. But I'm a huge, huge fan, and you'll see in other videos as well. I love this album. Justice, Dark Horses, Why'd You Stop, World of Pain, Fortune. Within an Ace is The Lady Gone, great masterpiece at the end. There's not a bum song on this album. I love this album. Great help from Mick Taylor. Big fan of Liz Phair, Exile in Guyville. I never understood the reviews of this thing, her answer to Exile on Main Street. What the hell does that even mean? I didn't even know what Exile on Main Street... I mean, it has a plot, but it doesn't really have a plot, and I don't understand how people say these songs answer it. I just think it's a load of hype. It's a good record. It's that really independent label record. It's really low produced, and I'm probably in the minority, but I actually prefer Liz Phair's later albums than this. I know that's blasphemy, but it's a good record. It definitely is. As is this band called Raging Slab. And Dynamite Monster Boogie Concert is the name of the CD. I had bought it because I heard of them, but I didn't know any of the songs, and it's a kick-ass record for sure. So, Raging Slab. Keep going. Patti Scialfa, of course known as Bruce Springsteen's wife right now, but a fine, fine artist in her own right. I have a bunch of her albums, and this was Rumble Doll. I like her a lot. She has a really cool voice. It's like a squeezy toy. You just want to squeeze her. No offense, Patty. Her voice is really unusual. But Rumble Doll, and a really, really good record. I like all of her solo records. Another Unplugged came out that year, and it's Rod Stewart, Unplugged and Seated, with special guest Ronnie Wood. This is a great, great Rod Stewart album, great live record, and he just does it up so well Unplugged. Great Unplugged album. Sting released 10 Sumner's Tales, and nominated right there, it says, for 6 Grammys. It deserved it. I think this is Sting's strongest record, and it's one of those albums that every single song is great. 10 songs, they're all masterpieces. I actually have this on Laserdisc. Each song had a video. Unbelievable. Suede, their first record, and really cool androgynous kind of cover. Another band I really love, and actually grew to love them even more. So this is their really early record, The Drowners, and So Young, and Animal Nitrate, and Metal Mickey, classic overseas. I actually think they get better. Teenage Fan Club, another really great band from overseas, and this is the album 13. This was the original release. It's got 6 hidden bonus tracks. They're a really, really good, cool band. Teenage Fan Club and 13. Pete Townsend released another solo epic, a album called Psycho Derelict, and it was a show, like a concert, with a dialogue and a plot, and I actually have a video DVD of it, and it's really cool, but it was not a huge commercial success for him, so then they reissued it with just the music only, and there's a lot of really cool songs on it. You know, what can you say? Pete Townsend's such an artist, and English Boy was the single, quote-unquote, hit, but Let's Get Pretentious, Early Morning Dreams, I Am Afraid, really cool track. Interesting concept album from Pete Townsend. U2, I'm a huge U2 fan, and after Octung Baby, what were they going to do? Well, they went experimental, they did Zeropa. Yeah, it's not one of my favorite U2 albums, but I take my hat off to them because they are artists and they try to do different things, and it's a cool record. You know, Numb, Lemon, Stay Far Away So Close. Yeah, just I think they're amazing. Even when they're not great, they're really the real deal. The Velvet Underground reformed. The original Velvet Underground. Lou Reed, John Cale, Mo Tucker, Sterling Morrison did a couple of shows, and they released this live record, and this is the 2 CD version, and it's fun. It's good. Kind of what you kind of expect. You can't really go home, you know, because the Velvet Underground were not successful when they were first around, but definitely cool that they got back together again. Charlie Watts did like an easy listening jazz album with vocals called Warm and Tender, and you know, it's a good, mellow listen, for sure. I dig it. Definitely dug it. Bernard Fowler, the backup singer from the Stones, is the lead vocalist, and he's a great vocalist, so he pulls it off really well. Paul Westerberg did 14 songs, a classic Paul Westerberg solo record from The Replacements, and a really good album, for sure. We're getting towards the end with Neil Young, 2 albums. His Unplugged, so I got 3 Unplugged albums in this top 44 list of 1993. The Unplugged was at its prime, and Neil Young's Unplugged album is also really great. All by himself, playing different instruments, and he pulls it off. And this was just a really interesting compilation, because at that time, he went to Geffen, and he was purposely releasing like really uncommercial albums. And this album called Lucky 13 takes the 13 tracks that I guess he feels were like amongst the best, and some of them are different versions, and it's kind of a cool listen. Neil Young. I missed one, I know, Alphabetical, but that's because I only have it in the Robert Plant 9 Lives box set, And Robert's album that year is my second favorite solo record, and that's Fate of Nations. And that is another amazing Robert Plant album. This one's a deluxe edition. But Calling to You and 29 Palms is incredible. And If I Were a Carpenter's a great cover. The Promised Land, Great Spirit. This is just, it's a terrific, I believe, a terrific Robert Plant album. So there you have 44 of my favorite albums that came out in 1993. You still with me, I hope? What are the top 10? At number 10 is going to be John Mellencamp, Human Wheels. Great album. They all are. The Kinks at number 9 with Phobia. An album that would have been really great if it was shorter, but still really good. Let's move that over the way. Number 8, Aerosmith. Get a Grip. See how long until they fall over. Number 7, 10,000 Maniacs. MTV Unplugged. Number 6, Robert Plant. Fade of Nations. Fantastic solo record from Robert. Let's stick that over there. Maybe you can see that. At number 5, Jethro Tull. Sorely overlooked in their catalog. Nightcap. 2 CD set. Unbelievable. If you're a Jethro Tull fan, you need to have that album. You need to hear it. It's great. Number 4, Carla Olsen. I'm a huge fan. And Within an Ace with Mick Taylor on guitar. Number 3, Sting, and I think his best solo record, for sure, 10 Summer's Tales. Number 2, Sheryl Crow, her debut, Tuesday Night Music Club, an amazing record. Number 1, I know you're going to think I'm biased, but I'm really not. The Stones don't always come in the top 3. But Mick Jagger was my number 1 album of 1993. Wandering Spirit, a great, great solo record. He does it all on this album, and he does it so damn well. Mick Jagger, Wandering Spirit. There's my top 10 from 1993. Let me know what you think. What did I get right? What did I get wrong? What am I missing? Don't forget, I still got like another 80 albums down there from 1993 that I didn't show. But I hope you're enjoying the series. I'm going to keep going. I'm going to do them all every 10 years for this decade, and then I'll go back from the 71 and the 72 ones that I missed. I hope you're enjoying it. Please hit subscribe. Please stay safe. Stay healthy out there. Keep rocking. And thanks for tuning into the Alan Rosenberg Show. And thanks my sister for getting me that great hat. Pretty cool, right? What do I got? Roger Waters today. All right. I will see you next time on the Alan Rosenberg Show.